You're nothing but a worthless, aging burden." The words sliced through the air like a jagged knife, leaving a trail of invisible blood. Marcus's voice was cold, devoid of any warmth or remorse. "I found someone better, Clara. Someone who doesn't drag me down. Someone who can give me the life I deserve." Clara's knees buckled, but she refused to fall. She could feel the weight of the wedding ring on her finger, a symbol of 15 years of love, sacrifice and loyalty. The house, once filled with warmth and love, now felt like a tomb. Clara's breath came in shallow gasps as she sank to the floor, the divorce papers crumpled in her hands. Clara set the dog down gently on the bathroom floor. It looked up at her with those soulful eyes, and Clara felt a lump form in her throat. She filled a bowl with water and set it down, watching as Lucky drank eagerly. Then she rummaged through her fridge, finding some leftover chicken from the cafe. That night, as Clara lay in bed with Lucky curled up at her feet, she felt a strange sense of peace. She started taking walks in the park, something she hadn't done since Marcus left. For the first time in a long time, Clara felt like she was part of the world again. One crisp autumn morning, Clara found herself standing outside a small, charming bookstore in the heart of the city. Clara followed Margaret to a cozy corner of the store, where 2 armchairs were arranged beside a small table. As the days turned into weeks, Clara found herself thriving at whispering pages. She started journaling, pouring her heart out onto the pages. The rain fell in relentless sheets, soaking Clara to the bone as she trudged home from work. As she turned the corner onto her street, something caught her eye, a small, shivering figure huddled under a bus stop bench. Without thinking, Clara shrugged off her raincoat and wrapped it around the dog, scooping it up into her arms. When she finally reached her apartment, she set the dog down gently on the bathroom floor. She filled a bowl with water and set it down, watching as Lucky drank eagerly. That night, as Clara lay in bed with Lucky curled up at her feet, she felt a strange sense of peace. She started taking walks in the park, something she hadn't done since Marcus left. For the first time in a long time, Clara felt like she was part of the world again. One crisp autumn morning, Clara found herself standing outside a small, charming bookstore in the heart of the city. Clara followed Margaret to a cozy corner of the store, where 2 armchairs were arranged beside a small table. As the days turned into weeks, Clara found herself thriving at whispering pages. She started journaling, pouring her heart out onto the pages. The rain fell in relentless sheets, soaking Clara to the bone as she trudged home from work. As she turned the corner onto her street, something caught her eye, a small, shivering figure huddled under a bus stop bench. Without thinking, Clara shrugged off her raincoat and wrapped it around the dog, scooping it up into her arms. When she finally reached her apartment, she set the dog down gently on the bathroom floor. She filled a bowl with water and set it down, watching as Lucky drank eagerly. That night, as Clara lay in bed with Lucky curled up at her feet, she felt a strange sense of peace. She started taking walks in the park, something she hadn't done since Marcus left. For the first time in a long time, Clara felt like she was part of the world again. But it wasn't just Lucky who helped her heal. It was the realization that she still had so much love to give, that her heart, though scarred, was still capable of beating with purpose. She had been abandoned, yes, but she was not broken beyond repair. And as she watched Lucky chase after a ball in the park, his tail wagging furiously, Clara felt something she hadn't felt in a long time: hope. The road to recovery was far from over, but Clara knew she was on the right path. And with Lucky by her side, she felt ready to face whatever challenges lay ahead. The days turned into weeks, and Clara's life began to take on a new rhythm. Lucky was no longer just a dog she had rescued. He had become her anchor, her reason to get out of bed every morning. His boundless energy and unwavering loyalty were a constant reminder that life, no matter how broken it seemed, could still hold moments of joy. But just as Clara was beginning to find her footing, fate decided to throw another curveball her way. It started with a phone call. Clara was at the cafe, wiping down tables during a rare lull in customers, when her phone buzzed in her apron pocket. She pulled it out, frowning at the unfamiliar number. For a moment she considered ignoring it, but something, a gut feeling perhaps, made her answer. "Hello," she said cautiously. "Is this Clara Martinez?" The voice on the other end was formal, almost clinical. "Yes, this is she. Who's calling?" "This is Detective Harris from the Financial Crimes Unit. I'm calling to inform you that your ex-husband, Marcus Thompson, has been arrested in connection with a major fraud case." Clara's hand tightened around the phone, her knuckles turning white. The words hit her like a punch to the gut, leaving her momentarily speechless. What are you talking about?" she managed to stammer. The detective's voice was calm but firm. Marcus and his current wife, Evelyn Carter, have been implicated in a multi-million-dollar investment scam. They've been defrauding people for years, and the evidence against them is substantial. I'm calling because your name came up in the investigation. We believe you may have been a victim as well. Clara's mind raced, trying to process the information. Marcus, a criminal? It seemed impossible, and yet. She thought back to the lavish lifestyle he had suddenly adopted after leaving her, the expensive cars, the designer clothes, the way he had flaunted his new life as if it were a trophy. At the time, she had assumed it was all thanks to Evelyn's wealth, but now, a darker picture was beginning to emerge. I don't understand, Clara said, her voice trembling. How could I be a victim? He left me with nothing. That's exactly why we're reaching out, the detective explained. We believe Marcus may have hidden assets or funds that rightfully belong to you. We'd like you to come in and give a statement. Your cooperation could be crucial to the case. Clara's legs felt weak and she leaned against the counter for support. Her mind was a whirlwind of emotions, shock, anger, disbelief. But beneath it all there was a flicker of something else, vindication. Marcus, the man who had abandoned her, humiliated her, and left her to pick up the pieces of her shattered life, was finally facing the consequences of his actions. I'll come in, she said, her voice steadier now. When do you need me? The police station was a stark, sterile place, its fluorescent lights casting a harsh glow over everything. Clara sat in a small interview room, her hands clasped tightly in her lap. Detective Harris, a middle-aged man with a kind but weary face, sat across from her, a file folder open on the table between them. Thank you for coming in, Clara, he said, his tone gentle. I know this must be difficult for you. Clara nodded, her throat too tight to speak. She had spent the last few hours replaying every memory of her life with Marcus, searching for clues she might have missed. Had there been signs? Red flags she had ignored? Or had he always been this person, hiding behind a mask of charm and charisma? The detective began to explain the details of the case. Marcus and Evelyn had been running a Ponzi scheme, promising investors high returns on fake real estate ventures. They had amassed millions, living a life of luxury while their victims lost everything. But their empire of lies had finally crumbled, and now they were facing a mountain of charges. We believe Marcus may have siphoned funds from your joint accounts before he left you, Detective Harris said, sliding a piece of paper across the table. This is a list of transactions we've flagged as suspicious. Do any of these look familiar? Clara scanned the list, her heart sinking as she recognized account numbers and dates. She had trusted Marcus completely, never questioning his decisions or his motives. Now she saw the truth. He had been systematically draining their finances, leaving her with nothing. I had no idea, she whispered, her voice barely audible. I trusted him. The detective nodded sympathetically. You're not the first person to be blindsided by someone they loved. But the good news is we're building a strong case against him. And if we can prove that he defrauded you, you may be entitled to restitution. Clara's head was spinning. The idea of getting anything back from Marcus felt surreal, like a distant dream. But more than that, she felt a strange sense of relief. For months, she had carried the weight of his betrayal, blaming herself for not being enough, for not seeing the signs. Now she realized the truth. Marcus's actions had nothing to do with her worth. He was the one who was broken, not her. As Clara left the police station, the weight of the day's revelations settled over her. She felt drained, but also strangely lighter, as if a burden she hadn't even realized she was carrying had been lifted. She walked home slowly, her mind replaying the conversation with Detective Harris. When she finally reached her apartment, Lucky was waiting for her at the door, his tail wagging furiously. Hey boy, she said, crouching down to scratch behind his ears. I've had quite a day. Lucky licked her hand, his warm, wet tongue a comforting reminder of the simple joys in life. Clara smiled, feeling a surge of gratitude for the little dog who had become her lifeline. She poured herself a glass of wine and sat on the couch, Lucky curling up at her feet. As she sipped her wine, Clara's thoughts turned to the future. For the first time in a long time, she felt a sense of possibility. Marcus's arrest wasn't just a reckoning for him, it was a turning point for her. She had survived his betrayal, his abandonment, and now she was stronger for it. She picked up her phone and dialed Elena's number. Her best friend answered on the second ring. Clara? Is everything okay? Yeah, Clara said, her voice steady. Actually, it is. I have a lot to tell you. As she began to recount the day's events, Clara felt a sense of closure she hadn't realized she needed. Marcus's downfall wasn't just justice. It was a reminder that no matter how dark the night, the dawn would always come. And Clara was ready to step into the light. The weeks that followed Marcus's arrest were a whirlwind of emotions for Clara. The initial shock had worn off, replaced by a quiet determination to reclaim what was left of her life. She met with lawyers, provided statements to the police, and began the arduous process of untangling the financial mess Marcus had left behind. It was exhausting, both mentally and emotionally, but Clara refused to let it break her. She had come too far to give up now. One crisp autumn morning, Clara found herself standing outside a small, charming bookstore in the heart of the city. The sign above the door read, "Whispering Pages," and the display window was filled with carefully arranged books, their spines gleaming in the sunlight. Clara took a deep breath, her heart pounding in her chest. This was it, the moment she had been working toward for months. The bell above the door jingled softly as she stepped inside. The air was filled with the comforting scent of old paper and coffee, and the shelves were lined with books of every genre. Behind the counter stood an elderly woman with kind eyes and a warm smile. "Welcome to Whispering Pages," the woman said. "How can I help you?" Clara hesitated for a moment, then took a step forward. "Hi, I'm Clara Martinez. I'm here about the job posting." The woman's smile widened. "Ah yes, we've been hoping someone would come in. I'm Margaret, the owner. Let's have a chat, shall we?" Clara followed Margaret to a cozy corner of the store, where two armchairs were arranged beside a small table. They sat down and Margaret poured them each a cup of tea from a steaming pot. "So, Clara," Margaret began, "tell me a little about yourself. What brings you to Whispering Pages?" Clara took a deep breath, her hands clasped tightly in her lap. "Well, I've always loved books. They've been my escape, my comfort, my teachers. After everything that's happened in my life recently, I realized I needed to do something that made me happy. Something that felt meaningful. And this place, it feels like home." Margaret nodded, her eyes filled with understanding. "Life has a way of leading us where we need to be, doesn't it? Tell me, what's your favorite book?" Clara smiled, the tension in her shoulders easing. "That's a tough question. But if I had to choose, I'd say, The Secret Garden. It's a story about healing, about finding beauty in unexpected places. It's always resonated with me." Margaret's eyes twinkled. "A wonderful choice. I think you'll fit in perfectly here, Clara. When can you start?" Clara's heart leapt with joy. "Really? You're offering me the job?" Margaret chuckled. "Of course, dear. You have the passion and that's what matters most. Welcome to the team." As the days turned into weeks, Clara found herself thriving at Whispering Pages. The job was everything she had hoped for and more. She loved helping customers find the perfect book, organizing the shelves, and even hosting the occasional book club meeting. The store became her sanctuary, a place where she could lose herself in stories and connect with people who shared her love of literature. But it wasn't just the job that brought her joy. It was the sense of purpose she had found, the knowledge that she was building a new life for herself, one that was entirely her own. She had started taking evening classes at a local community college, pursuing a degree in literature. It was a dream she had put on hold for Marcus, but now she was determined to make it a reality. One evening, as Clara was closing up the store, her phone buzzed with a notification. It was an email from her lawyer. Her hands trembled as she opened it, her eyes scanning the words quickly. The court had ruled in her favor. Marcus had been ordered to repay a significant portion of the money he had taken from her. It wasn't everything she had lost, but it was enough to give her a fresh start. Clara felt a surge of emotion, relief, gratitude, and a sense of closure. She had fought for this and she had won. But more than that, she had proven to herself that she was stronger than she had ever imagined. The final piece of Clara's new life fell into place on a sunny Saturday afternoon. She was at the park with Lucky, enjoying the warmth of the sun on her face, when she noticed a man sitting on a nearby bench. He was reading a book, his brow furrowed in concentration. There was something familiar about him, but Clara couldn't quite place it. As she walked closer, the man looked up and smiled. "Clara? Is that you?" Clara's eyes widened in recognition. "Daniel? Oh my gosh, it's been years." Daniel stood, his smile widening. "It has. How have you been?" Clara felt a rush of nostalgia. Daniel had been a close friend in college, but they had lost touch after she married Marcus. Seeing him now felt like a gift from the universe. "I've been better," Clara said, her voice tinged with emotion. "It's been a rough few years, but I'm finally in a good place. How about you?" Daniel's expression softened. "I'm sorry to hear that. But I'm glad you're doing better now. As for me, I've been good. I'm actually teaching literature at the university now. Clara's eyes lit up. That's amazing. I've been taking classes at the community college. I'm hoping to transfer to the university next year. Daniel's smile was warm. That's great to hear. Maybe we'll cross paths there. As they talked, Clara felt a connection she hadn't felt in years. Daniel was kind, thoughtful, and genuinely interested in her life. By the time they parted ways, exchanging numbers and promises to meet up again, Clara felt a spark of hope for the future. That night, as Clara lay in bed with Lucky curled up beside her, she reflected on how far she had come. She had been abandoned, betrayed, and broken, but she had risen from the ashes stronger and more resilient than ever. She had a job she loved, a dream she was pursuing, and a newfound sense of confidence. But more than that, she had learned the most important lesson of all, that her worth was not defined by the people who had hurt her, but by the strength she had found within herself. She had faced her darkest days and emerged into the light, ready to embrace whatever came next. As she closed her eyes, Clara smiled. The road ahead was still uncertain, but for the first time in a long time, she felt ready to face it. She had been through hell and back, but she had come out stronger, wiser, and more alive than ever. And she knew without a doubt that her best days were still ahead.